bum, 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 bum. Yeah. All right, here we go. We're getting ready for the show. Here we go. Oh my gosh, the show is only 1 hour today, but we're going to rock it out for you. I am all heart today and I'm ready to be there for you. We're going to work on your timeline. We're going to talk about stuff that really matters. What I call it is mindset transformation entertainment. Hello, my name is Rhonda Liebig when I'm out there speaking, but as the host, I'm Rhonda Liebig, my married name, which I love so much. Actually, I realized that Liebig is about love. It's a German name, and I chose Rhonda Liebig because it just feels so spiritual and wild to use that name. So I am going to first come in as your host, Rhonda Liebig, and get you ready and settled in. Today is the day where you get to learn about this new tool I've been talking about. But I'm getting out there. So if you're around Petaluma, come see me. I'm there September 8th, and there is an event that I want you to say you're coming if you'd love to come. Also, I'm doing a lot of virtual stuff. This evening, I'm speaking again. But right now, I want you to get hunkered in and get your guitar going. Bum, 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 ba, bum. Bum, 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 ba, da, da. Mindset entertainment. Here we go. Bum, bum, bum. All right. So this is it. We all need a timeline. Well, maybe we don't. But what if we had a tool that gave us this space to explore and be able to see our life like right in front of us? You know those blips in our life that really didn't serve us, but they kind of serve us because now they're showing up and they just feel so yucky. But when you lean in and you get curious, everything but power happens. I tell you, it really, really does. I've been using this tool, and I call it the Vitality Healing Timeline. It's a new name. I'm thinking that's what the full name is. I can't remember fully right now because it's so new. Cheers, by the way. Good morning. I get to be with you again this month. I really enjoy these shows. I really, really do. I created this tool, the Vitality Healing Tool, Timeline Tool. I was going through something and I had this awareness that, like, you know what? There's a layer here that I'm not really getting to, that there's some kind of story. I want to start looking at, like, I was thinking about my healing. You may not know my story. So if I back up just a moment here, I was taking medicine for 20 years. I noticed some things were happening in my body, and this happens if you take medicine. Your medicine is there for you when you take it consistently. But if you have some heavy stress or different things, the medicine can only do so much. And I was at that point where my lower back was really hurting, and I go, man, what? 20 years of medicine. Am I really going to be doing this for the rest of my life? Because I can fully feel that it's really pulling on my kidneys, and it felt very painful. Now, for you who are not like really in tune with your body, you may throw it at me and say, well, how did you know that? How, all that kind of stuff, like that naysaying. I'm like, well, no, we can't do any naysaying today. Maybe after the show you can question me. But just come play. And also check in. Tell me you're here. I have the window open right here for you. Tell me that you're here. So, while I'm getting you hunkered in, I want you to have a pen and your journal. And so that you can really come in and play with this timeline that we're going to be doing. So anyway, I decided it was time. It was time to move forward and really get in the depths of what was truly going on. Because medicine is lovely. It takes away all those aches and pains right away, and you go, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. As time goes on, there's some different stories that happen. I knew systemically I was still hurting my body, and I knew it was because I was eating foods that I shouldn't be eating, so I wasn't stepping into things. And my brain was still coming at me. I still felt little and small. And also taking that little pill, it just, I just didn't like it. It made me so unhappy that I was taking medicine because I was working out all the time, taking care of my body. Okay, so enough about why I got off my medicine. Did I really have to go that long? I don't think so. But what I really came to is once I stopped taking that medicine, I truly had to get in truth with what are these aches and pains at 29 brought me into this medicine. Like, what is that? I started feeling jolts in my body as time went on, and the jolts would come like the little buzz when somebody would come at me and say something to me, and I would just shame myself. And this is connected with how I figured out this timeline tool that we're using. And this jolt was like shame, and then I would turn bright red, or I would feel sweaty under my arms, or I'd just be having this story running in my head about how dare someone talk to me like that. It's like the how dare kind of thing. Have you ever felt that before? Where you're like, how dare anybody talk to me like that? But then it breaks you down, and the story and the conversation really doesn't happen. And there's another thing that sits in your body and just gets cumulative over time, over and over again. So I started stepping in deeper, and I started thinking and creating in a way where I start feeling better in the day. Because without medicine, my body would instantly react, and it would swell. And I'd be like, well, how do I fix that swelling? Let's go into mindset. Let's help that body flow. Let's stop pinching that body. The inside where you just feel like, oh, you feel like you're just so mad, or you're just not really listening to yourself. So I started going into these strategies I've been doing for years now. Well, the timeline was my next layer of creating, like, how can we use another tool that doesn't feel like what everybody's saying, like, let's do meditation, let's sit in this quiet spot, let's do, these kinds of things. So the timeline came about when I was ready for that next layer. And it's this year when it came about. And I started looking at what was happening for me at fourth grade. 4 years old, fourth grade, sixth grade, ninth grade, 14, age 23, age 29. And I started looking at that timeline. Took a step back, because those were the blips in my life when things weren't fully serving me. I didn't know it at the time, but taking a look back, it really helped me understand that there were some things I was not stepping into, or things I was naysaying me about to me, and it was on me. It's not that somebody else did it to me. Come on, have you ever felt like somebody's doing something to you? How dare somebody do something to me? Now, if you accept that when somebody does that to you, do you know that you're actually been doing it to yourself? So you just accept it. It freezes you because you truly believe it. For example, have you ever had somebody say something to you and you go, oh, screw you? Because right away you can speak to it because it doesn't make sense. But have you ever had somebody say something to you and you just totally shut down, and you go, and you're embarrassed, and you feel this, like you feel Like, oh my gosh, they see me and now I'm even more embarrassed because they saw that. So I need to hide that. If I hide that, then they'll think better of me. So then you start acting like they want you to, and almost like you're walking and you're freezing because you feel like you want every move to be perfect. You want to, this is sometimes where shallow breathing comes in, where because you want to almost like kind of be in a corner, but act as if nothing's wrong. Those are the blips in my life that create that stuff. So I started looking at that, taking a macro step back, and I was like, here, wait, these are the times when I wasn't feeling so good about myself. And these are the times when I started feeling small. I started feeling like I couldn't hear my intuition anymore. Like I started questioning myself. My stomach started like physically bloating. And I was wondering, should I be here in life? Should I start ejecting out of my body? And that was one time my best friend passed on. And so we go through these things, and all of a sudden you start seeing why you're showing up the way you're showing up, or what kind of health conditions you have based on what was showing up. I love this timeline, everyone. I really do. I can't wait to play with you in there. Right now, we've been in for 15 minutes on the show. I'm going to make sure I get there. But I want to tell you the timeline, what I'm going to give you today is the PDF of this book. And this is my book. So it's just kind of like I am just in this book like crazy all the time. Everything's bent and I'm just talking and using it all the time. When I first wrote this book, I hid it. I even hid the name. 14 Days to a Flat Belly. I'm going to give you a gift that's going to help you focus. It's going to be added to your timeline once you're done so that you can have 14 days of transforming your life. So we get you focused on that so that you can add it to your timeline of one of the really good things that happened to you when you didn't feel judged, is what I hear when people do this program. But you get to have this as a gift. This is going to be one of the good blips on your timeline. So we'll talk more about that. But in this book, I want to also share a story about my dad. So let's take a step back, take a deep breath in, and just kind of let it go. Shake it out. Dance it out. I could do this all day. You may not know, I was an aerobic instructor, and oh my gosh, that's crazy. I had a owner of a club, an all women's health club. It was pretty cool. And it's so funny. My computer's saying you have 100% instability on your computer. I have a really good camera right now, and it's taking up all my computer stuff. I need to get a new computer, I guess. So excuse if it's just kind of doing its own little crickety kind of a thing. My dad's story's in here. My dad's story is part of the 14 days to a flat belly. So if I take a step back and just give you a little bit of what I wrote in here to give you kind of like how I felt, but you're also going to notice I have a picture of my dad right here, and I'll bring that up too in a moment. But this is what this is. I'm only going to give you 2 paragraphs. My dad. Oh yeah, and take a moment here. Do you have a parent in your life where you just kind of put them on a pedestal? And I think we do that to all of our parents somehow. There's just a connection there. It may not be for all of us, because my dad really wasn't around, so I'll tell you that too. Okay, so my dad was my rock and always made me believe that everything in life was going to be okay. I don't know exactly what he said or what he did, but it was his presence that kept me feeling grounded. I carried a deep smile whenever my dad was around. I'm not going to do this next paragraph. I'm going to do the one after that, I believe. I dedicated this book to my dad. I feel like he was on my shoulder saying, Rhonda, what if I did this, this, and that? And I truly believe we can grow a new body, but it takes a lot of deep. So the timeline is going to help you with that. At age 44, which is me, my dad flatlined during one of his, oh, this is about him. He was 44. My dad flatlined during one of his workouts. At that time, he didn't know that he had diabetes too. The paramedics raced to him and were unable to bring him to life. Yes, it was so wonderful to have him survive, but his life was changed forever. Have you ever had anybody in your life flatline? And they bring him back to life. I mean, there's people out there, this has happened, and then all of a sudden it just changes everything about them. Like he was not wanting to fish anymore. Like he was like such a fisherman. He's like, I don't even care anymore. But he was in a lot of strife. And he would wear headphones to help him handle life because he was just feeling so much mental anguish. And he did not want to take any of the medicine. He's like, Rhonda, I don't want to take that medicine because it slows me down. It makes me feel dumb. And he directly said that. And I was just like, I didn't know how else to deal with this because I was the person that managed his stuff when he, after this layer, and I was so proud to. My second person in my family that I took care of, and I'm very, very proud that I do that. And I think it's what brought me to this work, this type of work of coaching people. And you may not know, I coach speakers that feel like underdogs, but they know they are shining, but something's just not clicking. And they want to get out there bigger. And those underdogs are ready to be superstar speakers. But I believe that he's one of the people that helped me get into what I do. This is my dad. I usually show one that's just so sweet. But this is my dad when he thought he was really cool. Like, yeah. Sure, it felt like that. It's like my dad was working out. And you think if you work out, then you're hot shit. You think you can save your life because working out is it. And I really truly believe if we have the 3 energy revitalized pillars, which is what I'm giving you at the end of our hour, the 14 days to a flat belly, body movement, mindset, and food. To stay off of medicine, I need that alignment. I need that quiet space. We need the quiet space, the healing of the nervous system, so we go deeper into the ATP process, so we can go deep and really speak to our body to heal. Calm. So the issue that happened with my dad, I call him the underdog. Because what I'm doing, I feel like my dad was doing, but in a more quiet way of helping people, is that he was an underdog. My dad, that I saw as a pillar in my life that I barely had in my life when I was younger. But every time I saw him, I just felt this presence. My dad ended up on the street. I was about 18 years old. I think at that time, when I reconnected back with him, he just got off the street. His friend just pulled him off the street. My dad was living on the street. He needed help, but he did not know how to get help. See, my dad was a smart guy. He knew how to work. He knew that if he worked, money would come, he'd pay the bills. It's very simplistic. But something happened in his life that broke him. So anything in this story right now that you may be feeling about, like working out, you think that you got it, but everything's not in alignment, And then things, in your life, maybe there's just been these points where you feel broken. He ended up on the street and he was in struggle. And so my dad's friend brought him into his house. Well, that friend was selling drugs. So my dad had a place to live, and he was dealing with the place that there were drugs. And to this day, I don't know, cheers, I don't know if my dad really got into that behavior. He was more of kind of just kind of going with the flow kind of guy. So I never really saw like extreme, except maybe when I was younger. So the house basically got raided where my dad was living. And this is crazy. He was one of the people that went to San Quentin. And this is it. Sometimes we believe stories that people tell us instead of really intuitively, like, is this true? But his friend said, hey, if I have you take the fall, then you go to San Quentin and I'll have land for you. I'll have a car. And my dad was telling me this stuff after he got out of San Quentin, after he got out of prison. And I'm telling this story, and I'm telling the story for the first time. But if you do any research on me or any connection with Jack Chaney, there's probably stuff out there. And I've had to deal with this stuff, as I was finding places for my dad to live. This is not anything to be shameful about. But I want you to think about where are the times when you felt like you could really show up. My dad just kind of went with the flow. He didn't make those decisions. And that's where it landed him in some deep doo-doo many times. So he spent time in prison. And supposedly something that he didn't do. And we can get in that victim state. I truly see my dad's story as being an underdog. But as soon as he flatlined and I got an opportunity to take care of my dad, the place that I got him in was a place that he was doing better than everybody else. So people that were transitioning off of different things, he would take them to clinics, or he'd get up at 4 a.m, say, I got your back. He would wash people's cars. He'd have these great conversations. He'd be walking around downtown Sacramento, and he was this lovely guy. So many people knew my dad that were around the downtown area because he was out walking. He was out working out. He always worked out. My dad, even after he flatlined, he was back into working out with those weights. He'd have weights on his legs and his arms. He'd go for walks around the Capitol Park, right in Sacramento. So my dad was an underdog. And what I want to share with you is a question for you is, have you ever felt like you were an underdog? Like just not being able to really step forward into your authentic strength. That's what I believe the timeline is about. Now, my dad lost his life at an early age. And I want to share with you, if you're working out or if you're doing your stuff, but you're not knowing how to break out because you're feeling like the underdog and you're wondering like, what do I need to do to be able to create a bigger business or a bigger life? The things that I'm hiding from, how do I do this so that I know everything is going to be okay? And not just okay, powerful. Like that everything's just ready to explode because my passion and my love is in what I want to do, but I'm not finding that leverage. I'm just caught in my story. I'm stuck and I don't know how to get out. I don't know how to get out. So this is it. This is how you do it. Let's go into your timeline. Now this is going to be like a workshop style. Now for right now, I don't know who's live. So if you want to check in, that would be so incredible. I would love that. And if not, if you're finding this in recording in our community, start adding your comments because here we go. Let me share screen and let me get you hunkered in. with your timeline. You want a pen and you want a journal. And in your journal, you're going to do a straight line across. And let me share screen with you and let's get into it. Let's talk about that. This beautiful thing I'm sharing with you is your healing vitality timeline. That's the actual name. I forgot the name. But it's a good one because it's about you being able to take a step back and start healing from things that are not serving you. And these are the things that aren't serving you. So what you're going to do, so I'm going to see if it'll take it. So you see that there's, Regina made it so there's a little lift here, but you can do a straight timeline. And put some marks there. So what I really envision is a straight timeline, but you'll see why she has this one up here. And you can go either way, but a straight timeline and, just some spots so you can write some things. And the next part is that you are going to write the things that have stopped and had you thinking, or you didn't stop. You did not stop, but you could have, but you didn't realize how much it was affecting you until you start doing this timeline. Okay, so we're creating your healing timeline right here. We're creating it. All you need is a line, put some marks on it. I would say 3 to 4 events you're going to want to find. And you know what? When I was doing this with Lisa Cherney, I was just on her podcast. She was already starting to think about the time she moved away from one town to the next. And so you're going to start thinking about these things that really affected you. But it's going to take a moment, maybe. And then I'll show you how to use that information. So let me get into our next spot here. Now, the reason why she has this lifted is like on the timeline, it's like the most recent, and this is the younger side here. But what you're going to do on your timeline is think of your life and the things that did not serve you until you start learning how to release them more. Now, what I have here, I'm going to go in more detail, but this one right here, the young trauma, that is one that I have visited over and over. I can even remember sitting down and envisioning. Tell me if you've ever done these kinds of exercises, which I find to be healing. It really gets you in there. And sometimes it's the perfect time, or you need kind of to come in different angles. So I sat down and I started envisioning this 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, like this young me. And to discover that scared factor that started happening during that time. The factor, the emotion of me being afraid to go to sleep. So I'd try and stay up as late as I could. When things started happening, when I'd first wake up and it would show up that right away I'd be scared. But I didn't know what it was. I was living with this scared factor. And so I never shared it with anybody that I was having problems because I didn't know it was a problem. I was living with it all the time and I thought it was just part of life. And so it didn't translate that I had an issue. It just, I was living in it. So if you have something like that in your life, this is what showed up for me. Is it started when I was at this age. So that's where we're going. So let me come back here in this macro area and let's start focusing in on this. So you know where we're going with the timeline. This timeline, I know that there was quite a few things in molestation for me that was going on. And this is when I started feeling like there's things going on, but it couldn't translate for me while it was occurring until I look at it now. I was 4 years old when it started. 10 years old, around fourth grade. I know for sure I was in fourth grade, but I think I was around 10 when this happened. But my best friend, her dad created a bomb, put her in the car, drove down the road, and they were both gone. My best friend. I'll speak more about that because the next slide will really help you with what I want you to do with your stuff that's happened in your life. Another example, 16 years old, that year I decided to go and live with my dad and stepmom. It was fabulous. It's because it's kind of cool. I had a rock star single parent mom just doing her stuff, and I really wanted to see how it felt to be hanging with two parents. You know, you can go to a parent for this, the other parent for that, but just feeling like how that was. And like what I said when I was reading you in my book, 14 Days to a Flat Belly, which I will be giving you a link so you get the PDF of this book and you can read the story about my dad and you can have 14-day support with a planning video. So I shared a story with you that is in my book. So I went to go live with my dad and stepmom. Well, this is the year that they started separating. It was a pretty harsh year, but I learned so much in just that year too. Just being with them is pretty cool. But there were a lot of hardships there also. Dad and stepmom divorces. Well, actually, it took them quite a long time to divorce, but that's what I say. But it was really separation. I hear Robert barking. Anybody else? Cheers. So on your timeline, what's showing up for you? And then 29, even though I loved being a CPA, but I started a career that wasn't fit for me. It was like the hardest part was when I started the career, I didn't feel like a really deep joy, but it felt like kind of like ego, like, yeah, this is really cool. But I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. I felt, and this is something I felt all my life, so I didn't think that it was something that was unusual, but this was a deeper time when I could really feel it. Like, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. Eject, eject. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? But then I kept learning more and more as I was going along in my career. So I'd have these really fun times and I'd be back into fighting with things. And really, I love the work because you get to tell stories, you get to support people. And that's what I get to do now too. So that's what really served me being a CPA. I finally passed the exam. I finally told myself I was smart and said, all right, you're done with the CPA exam because you've moved forward and not thinking that you were so dumb. But as soon as I passed the exam and people didn't see me differently, they just kind of, saw me as Rhonda Liebig. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, for me at that time, I really thought there was something wrong with that. I kept thinking there was something wrong with me, and the CPA license would tell people that I'm special. I realize that if I don't tell myself that I'm special, then nobody else will see it too, because they just see that hurt, wounded, crazy person that doesn't fit in, odd person, maybe that wants to fight because they're unhappy, or maybe because they want to give too much information because they're trying so hard because they don't feel like they fit in. That's the kind of person that would show up. But I learned a lot of stuff because I realize now I am pretty smart. But that's where I want to go with this. The next layer here is going to be interesting, because there's a part when it came to that I started not feeling so smart. And I don't know if I have it on this timeline, but I could see at 4 years old when some things started going down with the young trauma, that was really when I start questioning myself. And you know what? When I have finish your timeline here and get that going, and I just want you to focus right here as you're building your timeline. Um, it's interesting because I can still feel certain things, and it's related with me not feeling very smart, but it's a new layer. Because when I first started having these breakthroughs of me like thinking I was really dumb, it was like right after the CPA exam, and nobody started treating me any differently. I kept telling myself, "Oh, you're so dumb, you're so dumb, you're so dumb," and I swirled and couldn't get it together, and ended up in a job that didn't serve me at all, and I didn't know how to get out of it, except just like I thought I was going to lose my mind. I mean, it was that last year as being a CPA was no good for anybody. And before that, I felt like a rock star. These stories are important to kind of start seeing how this timeline is going to work for you. Because once you start getting in there and learning about the timeline, you can go in deeper and deeper. Because this is why I created this, was that there were some things I was still kind of trying to understand about myself, and how could I use a tool to be able to help people break through the events in their life and really kind of revisit in a safe way. And this is what I'm finding. So right now, the things that show up for me right now, because I can hear even deeper that back head chatter that I'm ready to, to karate chop. Oh, and by the way, let me give you this stat if you haven't heard it, because I use it almost every time I go out and I speak. But we speak about 60,000 words to ourselves. The latest study says even up to 70,000 I've seen. 80% of the 70,000 words are known to be negative. And it seems reasonable if you're not like really doing the mindset work, because I feel like I'm not 80% negative like I was, but maybe 70%. I'm still breaking through, or that'd be cool if I'm 60%, because our brain is very much fight or flight. So there's a lot of chatter going in there. So 80% of those 60,000 words are known to be negative. 90% of those words are cycled over and over and over. So I've been chipping away at that 90% that's just sitting there over and over and over. It's like, oh my gosh. But we don't recognize it because we've been living with it for a while. So I started doing these. I could hear myself saying, you're dumb, you're ugly, like these really like straightforward words. And I was like, okay, I broke through that. Oh my gosh. And it made a big awareness for me. And tell me, has that happened for you? Where all of a sudden you just feel like this awareness about yourself because you can start hearing things. And then lately, this is what I hear is going on. It's like, because you get those deeper and deeper layers, and they'll show up when you're ready for that next big, quantum leap or bending time, which is like clearing your space. So time moves slower, you stay more present, you get things done quicker. So I hear this stuff like, well, maybe, well, I don't know. Well, I guess so, but I'm not sure. I wonder what if, and you know that wishy-washy feeling, that's connected with me and my you're not smart. You're dumb. And now the wishy-washy is showing back and forth. And if I'm having a day where I don't feel fully empowered, my body's not feeling good, I believe as a vitality coach that that vitality brings us into our truth and that we get to be the best that we know how to be. I'm looking to see, kind of checking in with everyone. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Brenna, Dusty. We got some great people here. Okay, so I'm really excited that you're here. So what I want is to hear, if you have not been posting, there's kind of a thing here. Rosemary, I finally found you. Let's do it. Hi, Rosemary. Hey, Rosemary, how are you feeling about this timeline? Is it making sense to you? Do you have questions about it? I'm right here for you. So Rosemary said she took a while to find me. You know what? It's interesting because since we go live in the group, it is sometimes hard to find us. So yeah, so Rosemary, come on, just keep adding in your stuff. What do you think about the timeline, my friend? So when you start chipping away and hearing these words, then it starts making more and more sense why your emotions will go up and down, because the chatter is just bombarding us. And I believe it's time for us to get in that next layer of the timeline so we can truly see what is showing up. Like, what is the thing that's really showing up? Why those blips are important. So let's go there. Let me share screen and I'll show you the last slide here. There we go. Okay. So Rosemary and everybody that I saw that's on, we are going into the red spots there now. So we already talked about the young trauma, best friend, dad and mom started a career that was not a fit for me. Okay, the red spots are the ones, the highlights of when, looking back, the stuff that popped out from that. And this may not come up right away of the results of the blip. So I want you to actually make a strategy session with me if you want to talk about this more. I didn't think about that, but I'll make sure that I give you, we're almost done here. So I'm going to give you the way that you can book a session with me so that you can look at your timeline and we can strategically talk about it. I'm also going to give you the PDF of my book, The 14 Days to a Flat Belly, and I'm going to give you the link to that because it's going to be part of your timeline. It's going to be a positive spot, and I'll share that with you so you can expand your timeline and see how those things work for you too. The positive, the transformation time. When I look at my young trauma, that was when things started really sitting with me and being scared. So, for example, how scared was showing up for me is that when it was time to sleep, like that, sleeping is your most vulnerable time because you're clicking off and you really want to know that your area is safe. And anybody who's been molested or abused emotionally, physically, and it can be other things. So please tell me if there's other things that we want to look at that's on your timeline about showing up scared. when I'd fall asleep, I didn't know that I didn't want to sleep because if I close my eyes, what if? What if something comes at me and attacks me? And it really makes me sad. All my life, until just recently, that whatever happened when in your blip and what was going on, that's showing up right now, that somebody took something from you. And when you came on this earth, you truly didn't have any of this crap going on. And I can hold that space and blame people, but this is about us feeling empowered. But how do we get there? So I want to tell you, we're going to talk about that other component of why this is important. I want you to have those breakthroughs. I want you to see that how you are feeling, it shares with you what is truly happening for you. And how you can surrender to it, start feeling that rawness, and have your breakthrough. And the first thing I want to say is, how dare that blip in your life take something from you? How dare that happen? That's where the fighting and the hiding comes from, or the being scared, or separating from yourself, almost wanting to eject out of your body, or you feel like you're lost, or you feel like you're not loved at all. Like, how could anybody love you? What are the things that are showing up on your timeline? What are the things that maybe you've had breakthroughs and you're like, Rhonda, this doesn't mean anything to me because I've had those breakthroughs. I want you to take a deep breath in and start thinking about that. Where's your next layer of that recycled stuff showing up in your life? Because we only have an hour together, so we're probably maybe just putting seeds in your body and your brain to think about this stuff because it's showing up somewhere. We're human. There's no such thing as being perfect, but to heal and to take deep breaths and to allow our body to be, so that we don't get on medicine too soon, and maybe medicine never. If we keep healing from our timeline, magic will happen. But your body has to understand that you believe in this, that you know you can do this, but you need to pull and extract that stuff that's showing on the timeline. Because when you start doing that, you sleep better. Your body will heal. Your body will do things magical for you because that's what your body is trying to do. Now, being in the health industry, let me tell you, 20 years and doing it in a very powerful way, that is my sweet spot. That's where I feel safety, is teaching aerobics, teaching step, teaching spin, teaching kickboxing, going in there now in the health industry, being a health coach, really sharing the depths of what I know about my breakthroughs, and I'm watching my clients do it too. It's in the timeline. It's in the timeline. What is it that stopped you from thinking that you shouldn't be shining anymore, that you're too big, that you're asking too many questions, that you're not worthy? Did somebody laugh at you, make fun of you, and tell you you were pouting and thought it was funny? Did anybody do that to you? Did anybody try and embarrass you in your life and you keep embarrassing yourself? Your face turns red, or you want to crawl under a rock, that you don't believe that you deserve deep, deep love. In your relationships, is it showing up that some people are naysaying you? And you're accepting it because you're still naysaying yourself. As soon as you believe in yourself, you're going to tell somebody, please don't do that. It doesn't make sense. Like, why are you doing that? And it could be somebody that you were with for years, and you can say, I don't play that way anymore. I don't understand how to play that way anymore. And I won't. It's time for our relationship to mature because this is the only way I want to live anymore. We don't need to battle. We don't need to fight anymore. This is our layer to love on each other and support each other and not tear ourselves down. Find the space as you are healing from being scared, from not fitting in, to try and fit in everywhere, to give too much. In your business, are you giving too much? Inside, is your stomach bloating because you're hiding from your stuff and you're sitting with it? And it's just sitting there. It's sitting in your digestion. Maybe it's affecting your immune system. Maybe it's not really showing up, but deep inside you have those aches and pains. You don't have to have a belly on you to be showing that you're dealing with pain. Deep inside in your stomach, are you having pain? This is why I think about my dad. This young man, crazy man. Now my mom tells me some stories. I'm like, well, maybe he wasn't always like this cool dude that I remember. Because I believe her. I've heard. It's crazy. But the man that came into my life more, later, after he lived on the street and after all these things were happening, is that I learned so much about myself. Hi, Dodie. Dodie, I've been talking about the timeline. You got to get in there. You got to. All I'm gonna be here just 1 hour. I'm almost ready to exit out. It's a special show. I'm so in love that Joan is here and Dodie is here, and anybody else checking in, please check in. So I can keep sharing with you these stories. I can keep the motivation and the affirmations about yourself and learning about yourself. I want to use that timeline. You're going to get such creative, cool things about getting to know yourself. I will be speaking in Petaluma. If you live around Petaluma, I want you to be there. I'm at the Women's Club. I have an event set up, something Women's Club. But my dad, I've learned so much. Pretty much after he passed away, I was just like, boy, I learned a lot about my dad. Okay. So what I want you to think about is what you want. Luana, you missed the timeline unless you've been here this 1 hour show this month. Thanks for checking in. I want you to start thinking about this. If you see this recording or you're here live with me, is when is it your time? Your time to feel your heart open and still feel safe. Your heart partnering with your mind, and your heart glowing with wisdom. That every word you say or what you feel, that just feels beautiful and just so life is precious. Dodie, I'm going to be September 8th. I am going to be in Petaluma. I'll be there I think all day. It says, now I'm taking it back now for the past week. Keep on talking to me. I'm here. What is it that you start healing your belly from the aches and pains and the stress and the stuff that's happening cycled back here? When is it your time? Dodie and Luana and Joan, share with me. Is this your time? What are you doing about it? Or are you going through another breakthrough and you're like, you want to make a statement? Oh, Dodie, I'm so happy you're asking this stuff. I will give you in Petaluma, I'll give you the link. As soon as I'm done live, there's a few links I'm going to give you. One of them is that I want you to get this. It's going to be a PDF book for you as a present. 14 Days to a Flat Belly. I want you to add this to your timeline that we've been working on. These 14 days, what I want you to see is all the goodness that happens to you when you use the 3 energy revitalized pillars: body movement, mindset, and food. And bringing those strategies together for 14 days. And what transforms in your life emotionally? Like, what do you connect with? Because I want you to add this to your timeline so that you can see and you can start adding all the good stuff that happened and you can blend that so that you know that's probably the best times that you felt in your body was when you felt really, really happy. You're going to notice that your body is more of an emotional body. When things happen, and you may not realize it, you just might go like, oh yeah, I really don't feel anything. It's nothing. And you're like, okay, but what about your stomach being torn up? And you have aches and pains. Why? Why does your body have aches and pains? So you can get this also on Amazon. 14 Days to a Flat Belly, Guide to a Vibrant, Energetic, Sexy You. And I'm also giving the PDF away today along with the program. And you're going to opt into rhondaliebig.com/14 days to a, no, it's 14 days gift. 14 with the number 14 days gift. And I'll put that link down here. But Amazon, this is where you're going to get this book. I have an author page also. And if you're doing your timeline and you're wanting to break it down and look at that, let's spend 45 minutes. Let's do a health and wellness kind of breakdown strategy session. And who this would be for is that you're really serious. You're like thinking, I'm in discovery here. I'm not feeling well. And this timeline is starting to seem pretty interesting, that it's really opening up some really big visuals for me. And I really want to talk about that. I want to see how can I take that to the next level because I'm ready to heal. Now, if you're feeling that, of course, I will be in that area the day. Dodie, you will be. It's women coming together. It's on B Street in Petaluma. September 8th. I'll get you the link because it's $25. There's lunch and there's like it's like women come together. It's so great. At $25 is great too. So that's it. Dodie, if you get me a speaking engagement, I'll work my way to Idaho. Yeah, I will, my friend. We'll talk about those details. If there's something that is going on and you're like, I think this is where you need to be, you connect with me. I would love to. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate you showing up too. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get you links. This is our 1 hour together. It goes by so fast because every month I'll stand here for 4 hours and it's so much fun. But I knew that I set it out originally to be 4 hours because I have some really great stuff I've been like healing in my body and working on every day. And I find that my clients are able to really hunker and get deeper and deeper and deeper. And the people that I'm working with I find there are two types or sets of people. People that really want the health and wellness side, and they want to go deep, and they're in discovery, and they want to heal, and they know about my story about getting off of medicine, and they're looking at how to heal their body. Then I find that I have people that have businesses. They want to tap in to my health and wellness because we talk about your vocals and your health and your mindset around food strategies. But we also talk about them as a speaker, them as a business owner. And we grow and expand that so they can increase their income for for themselves. We're consistently talking about sales. We're consistently talking about vocals and showing up as themselves. As we were starting to break through on the timeline, that's the stuff that we are working through in the mindset area when we're coaching, but we also do it in a group. We do back and forth. They get the one-on-one, and they also get the group. It's incredible. I'm having such breakthroughs. I may even put maybe some testimonials there. You'll see people don't feel that they're being judged because in the health area, you don't want to feel judged. In your business, to be able to open up and just be authentic and say crazy stuff, you'll realize it's not crazy. You go, oh my gosh, I just said that, and you're like, oh no, it's no big deal. I appreciate you said that. Now let's have that breakthrough, and then you realize there's no bad words. And by the way, I think my next book is about reframing the Webster Dictionary. So I feel like every word out there is positive. So then how can failure, how can shame be all negative? I believe everything's like an endless cycle. And that when the shame brings you down, that word actually, there's something positive that happens with it also. And so I believe I'm creating something there. It just feels right. Because I get stuck in these words and it's like, but they're not bad words. But sometimes when we say them, they can be triggers for people. So how can we reframe the Webster Dictionary? I got the answer. It's going to be my next book. It's going to be real small because there's going to be these words and phrases and stories around it and conversation. And as we're finishing here, whoop, whoop, make sure you're moving your body. Make sure you're eating nice and good food that's gentle for you, that you are attracted to. Not your taste buds, but your body says, yes, healing time. Hot water. I create teas for people to rebalance their body, mindset, so you're not harsh on your body, your heart, your stomach, your aches and pains. Thanks, Dodie. I would love to see you in Petaluma. And tell me more about Idaho and what's going on. Oh, bam! Let's do it, Dodie. Okay, I love you so much. Let me get some links there for you. I'll get them in there and let's rock and roll. Our group and our community is growing. And I'm saying our stuff because the Fresh Inspiration Show is about mindset transformation and being entertained, which is stepping aside from the day to day for a moment or for 4 hours. If you want the show, the full show for that day. It's about inspiration. It's about knowing that you got this. It's about people talking about their stories, but it really translates for you. I invite superstar speakers in so they can share with you their story before they even get on the show. There's somebody I'm in contact with. She is stage 4 breast cancer and she's healing and she's saying, I'm here. Hear me roar. So we're going to be talking hopefully tomorrow and I want to interview her. If you have a story or if you have this zesty in you that is just like, oh my gosh, I need to get this information out, I'm here for you. I know it's one of my reasons why I'm here on earth. What is the reason you're here on earth? Keep discovering that your body that's rid the aches and pains and The natural aches and pains, I want to get rid of too. We can have some pains. It's okay. We can have bad days. It's okay. We can also regrow some areas that are in a lot of pain. Let's get deep. Let's get deep. Woo-hoo! Love you. I truly do. I love you. That's why I'm here. Let's go in the deeper heart sense. I appreciate you. Namaste.